Hi, I'm Eleanor Ann Sweet, Hidden Sales and Revenue Expert in Turbocharged Sales and President and CEO of the Remington Group. Last week in Modular 1, we discovered the basics of marketing, going through logos, going through your promise, and how you can reach out to your customers in terms of better communication on the value of your product that you bring to the marketplace. Modular 2, today, we're going to go over strong sales techniques. So let's get into today's lesson. In today's lesson, lesson 1 will be power of business over the phone in today's market. As I shared with you last week, the phone is one of the best tools in today's market and also one of the least used in today's market. Number 2, we're going to talk about how you're going to be leaving a series of voicemails and in between emails to follow up with prospective customers. And lesson 3 will be closing techniques, how you can get closer to really having a meeting with them and also selling your product or service. I like to start each session with a quote. Today's quote: people are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want. And if they can't find them, they make them. Well said, George Bernard Shaw. This is the essence of what we're talking about today, and it's really the essence of America. We accept responsibility and we make things happen and we go forward. And in a challenging economy like this, you need to keep getting on your horse every morning and going forward and finding those customers where you know you can really make an impact and a difference and transform their business and their lives. I wanted to go over this slide again. We've seen it before, but it still kind of gives us a roadmap of where we're going on all these lessons. Over here, you have your traditional product where you currently are. You're calling on your current customers. You may have lost some customers in this current economy. So the question is, where are you going to find new customers? You can go over here and take the same product to the right to new customers, and that'll take you into some new markets. And we're going to go over that in some future sessions. The other option is, let's say you're currently selling your product in increments of 100 pieces. Maybe in this economy you want to downsize and create a package of 10. So what you would do is you go back to your current customer and you would take what we call a line penetration. You would take that new offering. So now you offer 100 in a pack and you offer 10. And so for a customer in this economy, and in terms of managing their inventory, it may make sense for them to have the 10. So now you've got a sale that you didn't have before. The other option is we're going to take our product and we're going to modify it. So if you're currently offering, let's say, a product that has a box that people can put their food in, can we take that box and can you offer it to people that they can put their widgets in? So that would be taking a product, making a major modification to it and getting into a new business area with new customers that you weren't selling before. So let's talk about our prospect. Let's talk about our customer. You need to understand in advance that there are primarily 4 qualifications you want to keep in mind at all times. Number 1, does the person you're reaching out to have a need for what you're selling? Now, you aren't going to know that in advance. You're obviously going to have to uncover this information as you engage and connect with them. But you need to find out what's keeping them up at night. What's their challenge? What's their pain? What problems are they currently having going on in their lives or their business that aren't being solved? What areas are they losing money? What areas are they not making money? So how can your product satisfy those needs? Number 2 is the prospect. Can the prospect use what you're selling? So if they can't use what you're selling, even though you're going to be reaching out to them, there's no sense in spending your time, and you're going to need to pre-qualify people on your phone calls to find out if they can use what you're selling. Number 3, particularly in this economy, can the prospect afford your product or your service? I've seen a lot of small business people that I work with in this economy are actively and proactively adjusting their pricing to be sensitive to this current economy. So when you do that, you're going to want to say to your customer, we have a temporary pricing during this particular economy where we've reduced our prices. And so if you can say it at a limited period of time, once the economy starts to improve, it'll help you start to take your pricing back where it needs to be. But it shows you're being empathetic, and it shows that we're all coming together in America trying to go forward in this economy. And there'll be some people, please be aware, that are going to pretend they can afford your product, but out of pride, they really can't afford it, or they don't have the authority. And so you need to uncover that in your conversations and your connections with them. And number 4, does the person want the product? They have to believe in their heart that your product is truly going to solve their problem. If they don't feel that in their heart emotionally, then they will not buy. Also remember that 51% of your closing success with prospective prospects is going to come from your enthusiasm. If you're feeling dejected or depressed about whatever's going on, it's going to come across in your demeanor. It's going to come across in your energy level. And remember to smile. Smile is something that just gives positive energy and makes everybody feel better. Also understand that when you're reaching out to these prospective customers, that prior to this economy, only 4 or 5 of them out of 10 would be interested in your product. They're going to say no. Now in this economy, expect 6 to 7 people out of every 10 people you reach out to is going to say no. But that's not failure in sales. In sales, it only gives us more feedback to say to ourselves, if this is not the right person, where is the right person? And we keep pursuing and reanalyzing our target market and our ideal customer. And remember that no one cares about what your product is. They only care about what your product does to change or improve their lives. And that's what you need to uncover in order to touch their hearts and to be able to sell them and have them feel comfortable that you truly are going to be able to transform their life. We went through this slide before, but I still think it's an important slide because it kind of reminds us what's our realistic expectation as we reach out. So 3% are actively in the buying mode. Okay, in today's market, we're probably talking about 2%. In previously, 7% would basically have to get budget approval, but they weren't necessarily actively looking at buying. In today's market, that's probably more like 9%. The one that I like and my favorite is the 9.5% have a problem, but they don't know that there's a solution out there. In today's market, it's probably 10%. That's probably gone up because more people are coping with more situations. That's a great potential market for you right there. So if you put those together, if you take the 2% plus the 9, which is 11, and then let's say we add 10, you still have 21% of the people that you have a potential to touch and make a difference and sell your product to. Lesson 1, the power of the phone. I wanted to share with you a recipe that I've used over time to kind of give you an idea during the day what the difference can make here. We'll go over this in a minute. But first, let's go over the basics. We've talked about building your target market. So ideally, you want to have 100 to 200 people. If you're familiar with your current demographics or your SIC code, SIC, which we're also going to go in more detail in another lesson coming forward, another modular, then you can match and try and find other customers that match that same profile. You want to look at the target industries. You also want to analyze what's the title of the people that you've been selling to in the past and look for other organizations that have a similar title. Sometimes titles can change within the company, so you're going to need to reconfirm that with a receptionist or somebody that you would be talking to over the phone. You want to look at also trigger events. Have they made a recent acquisition? Or are they downsizing? Let's say they're shrinking their warehousing and they're moving into a new environment. Does that create more business for you? You also want to divide your leads in terms of A, B, and C. The A ones are the closest to your ideal profile. The B ones are a little bit away from it. And then the C is a little bit of a stretch. You're going to spend the majority of your time with the A's and B's, about 80% of your time focusing on that market. And then you're going to research 10 to 20 of your closest ideal customers in the A and the B category. So spend a little bit of time on the internet, go to your library online, do some Google searches, and just really try and dig into them in terms of what's going on in those companies. Have there been new employees? Are there new hiring people? Is there new management? Is there a new philosophy? A lot of people during this current economy are pivoting their businesses, they're redesigning them. And so you want to see, is that new redesign going to maybe be more appropriate for you having the ability to do business with them? And create a list of 120 to 200 names. As I've mentioned to you in the past, Excel is a wonderful vehicle to use this. You can also do old-fashioned 5x7 index cards. You can go to Office Depot and you can get index cards that go 1 through 31. That gives you the days of the month, and then you can keep moving those cards forward in terms of when you want to do your follow-up of them. Sometimes that can be faster than doing in Excel. I also mentioned to people that when you're doing all your phone calls and your follow-up, I use a logbook, okay, just like this, just like a spiral notebook. And so I date it, I put the person's name on it, and I recapture what were the highlights of that phone call. And then it's not until 5 o'clock at night that I enter that data into my database. You don't want to be spending your day time, which is prime golden hours, as we call them, selling, filling in a database. Save the database for later. All right, talking about how to spend your day. These times, like I started it with 9 o'clock to 10 a.m. You can also move them up to 8 or 8:30. But here you have 9 to 10 o'clock. That's your best market and best probability of catching up with someone. Please remember that though I'm predominantly talking between Tuesday and Thursday. So it doesn't mean I don't want you to do this on Monday, and it doesn't mean I don't want you to do this on Friday, but it means you're going to have a higher probability of catching up with the people on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and actually Thursday is the best day. What they have found in studies that on a Monday, people don't feel comfortable making a major decision. They're kind of like coming in from the weekend, and then people don't feel comfortable on Friday making a major decision because they're kind of like getting ready to go on the weekend. So it's kind of like a little bit of a headset there. Then your second best area in terms of trying to catch people on the phone is 10 to 11. And then what I'm suggesting between 11 and noon is that's when you look at your emails, send email follow-ups, do some social media on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or wherever or Instagram, depending upon the one that you tend to use for your business. And it's obviously can be more than one. Then you're going to take a lunch break, and then there again from 1 to 3, again, I would check your emails, send some emails out to people that you've spoken in the past as part of your sequencing and your following up. And there again, touch base on your social media, reach out to people. From 3 to 4, I'm suggesting you build your call list for tomorrow. So I tend to like doing it at night, but then when I found out I was doing it after 5:30, and it kind of like, it created some problems in terms of the rest of my evening. So I have, in the last year, moved this up to 3 to 4. So I'm building my list. So you should have your 50 or 100 people that you're going to plan on making a phone call. Put them on, either a legal pad, if you want to have them in your Excel, if you want to have them in your contact relational management system on your database. You may have a system that's maybe going to dial it automatically for you, but set it up between 3 and 4. Between 4 and 5:30 is a great time to catch up with people. They're coming out of business meetings, they're coming out of their Zoom meetings, they're catching up, they're going into their computers, they're checking up on email. And so this is a wonderful market to catch up with. And so I put 4 to 5 being traditional, thinking that most people, quote unquote, are looking at traditional hours. But if you are willing to and go from 4 to 5:30, sometimes 6, you can really have a lot of success catching up with people. And this information is from my own experience in my 25 years of cold calling and calling on, presidents, vice presidents of major companies, and also from Inside Sales, which does a lot of research in this area. You've seen a little bit of this before, but I can never give you too much information on this. Let's talk about creating your voicemail script. So you're going to do a series of scripts, okay? It could be 5, it could be 7 in this economy, and you're going to tweak them. There's going to be some things that are going to stay the same, and there's some things that are going to change. But what you need to know every time you write your voicemail script is, what's the goal of that call, okay? Because you need to keep that in mind while you're writing it, and you need to keep it in mind while you're leaving the message. And if someone picks up the phone and you're talking to them, you need to remember, what's my primary goal here? And traditionally, until you catch up with them, when you finally do catch up with them, the goal is to make an appointment, to take the conversation further. It is not to sell them all your product and close a deal. You have to develop a relationship first. Remember that people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and they don't have enough information to make an intelligent decision. So you're going to identify yourself, you're going to leave your number, you're going to explain why you're calling, and in one sentence, you're going to share your value, your benefit, the outcomes. What's the transformation that you provide? So once they purchase from you, be it your product or your service, how does that change their life? Is it going to help them sleep at night better? Is it going to give them more profitability for their organization? Is it going to motivate their salespeople? Is it going to create some better team building internally, which in turn will create more profitability for the organization? Whatever it is, you need to get that out in a quick sentence. And then number 3 is provide your proof. You can talk about, let's say, 2 customers that you've dealt with in the area that they might know. You might be referred by someone, and you could mention their name in the conversation. And at the end, you're going to identify yourself again. You're going to say your name, the name of your organization, and the phone number. If you have gotten a little bit longer on the voicemail than you expected, you could eliminate the name of the firm at the end and just give your name and your phone number, because you did give your firm name in the beginning. So here's another situation I wanted to share with you. Most people don't realize the probability of when you're trying to get through to people. And you can see that this is not just from one phone call. So you have a 37% probability of catching literally a live person on the phone with call 1. Prior to this economy, that was this number. Right now, I'd say it could be as high as 47%. But when you make that second phone call, you have a higher probability of catching up with a person. So now it's 61%. So let's say in this economy, now it's up to 70%. The third phone call, 73%. The fourth call, 82%. The fifth one you leave, 88%. And the sixth one is 90%. Now I can take you out beyond that, but I wanted to get you to 6 because a lot of people don't have a tolerance to make a lot of phone calls, but this is showing you that it does take, it's a numbers game. It's strictly a numbers game. Don't take it personally. You don't make a connection. By the fourth call, you're going to say that I'm never going to hear from this person. Don't give up. But one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to be tweaking your voicemail, and you're going to be leaving a little bit of a different message every time, because you never know what appeals to someone. Just like earlier when I gave you that voicemail slide, I gave you one like that in a previous session, but it's worded slightly differently. So that one may appeal to you more. It may give you that aha moment. So you have to keep reaching out. It's not for the faint of heart. I told you that you're not to take this personally. The sooner you get through the no's, you get to the yes. It's not about you. Also remember that they're not sitting there waiting for you to call them. You're not their priority. Their priority is another issue going on in the company. So that's what we always have to remind ourselves, not to take it personally. They're on a different set of timing. We don't know what that is until we connect with them. But if you truly believe that your product and your service can make a difference in their lives, then you have, in my opinion, a moral obligation to go out and keep trying to reach those people that you can truly help. And there are a lot of people in this economy that are frozen. They're fearful. They could even be depressed, and they're just kind of like trying to figure out, how can I go forward? And if you have a product or service that you know can help them through this particular phase, then you need to get out there to help them. And that will hopefully drive you to go through the multiple phone calls, the multiple emails, and the follow-up, and keep going, because in your heart, you have a desire to serve and make a difference, and you can make a difference. Here was another thing that I found that was really interesting. And it talks about when you finally do get through. And right now, there are a lot of people that are working remotely. So some of them you won't be connecting with maybe as quickly as you could before. That's realistic. On the other hand, I think there are a fair amount of people that slowly are starting to go back to the office, and there are people now that have gotten a little more organized. So now that their office phones are forwarding to their cell phones. So things have shifted a little bit because unfortunately this time period has been going on a little bit longer than we all thought. But here's what the point I want to leave you with is, when you're calling and if someone does pick up the phone, you say, "Are you busy?" And then they did a study, and this again was through a sales organization that did this. And if you say, "Are you busy?" or "Do you have a quick second?" The difference being here is if you say, "Are you busy?" and just stop at that, 86% of them will say, "I am," but they'll still let you go on and talk to them and interrupt them. When you're a little bit traditionally more polite and you say, "Are you busy?" or "Do you have a quick second?" then you pretty much have given them an out to say, "Well, no, I can't talk to you right now." So it's going to diminish the number of people that you're going to be able to capture and talk to at that moment. So what I'm suggesting here is when you do get someone live on the phone and you say, "Are you busy?" as opposed to getting into a long one, "Can I have a quick second?" And then you go forward with the message that you want to share with them, which is going to be similar to what you were sharing, what you would have shared within your voicemail. You want them to understand where you're going to show them the value that you can provide, and you're basically going to be asking them for 10 minutes of their time so that you can talk to them further. Let's talk about session 2, emailing, sequencing, and connecting. So this is an area where, for whatever reason, I know that email is less expensive. It's kind of like quicker. It kind of makes you less, you're not feeling as vulnerable because you can just send a whole bunch of emails out and you can feel like you've done something. But in reality, you really need the combination of the phone call, the voicemail. When people hear your voice, you now become a person. There isn't a single person that I know in this country that basically has bought a product from email without knowing anybody. People do not buy from email. They buy from people. And when you leave a voicemail, then you become a person. They can hear by the tone of your voice. It captures them. You become someone that they can remember, and that maybe they're not going to return your phone calls, but hopefully they will. But the point is, you're a person. Right now, we don't have as many opportunities through our chambers or to go meet clients for lunch or to make a presentation in their actual office. So we really are heavily relying on the phone. If you're talking about setting up a 10-minute phone conversation with someone down the road, which is our initial goal here, you can also set up a 10-minute Zoom meeting. Personally, I would rather just do the 10-minute phone because I think it's faster by the time we all get on Zoom. But you want to do whatever appeals to your customer. So we're going to start with voicemail. I always believe in starting with voicemail as your first reach out. So here would be our initial voicemail. You're going to say your name, give your company and the phone number at the beginning and the end of the voicemail. And remember to speak slowly when you say your name, your company, and your phone number. You're going to briefly communicate your value and your benefit and the outcome by working with you and your company. What transformation will they see? How are you going to save them some money? How are you going to help them sleep better at night? How are you going to give them more time with their family? How are you going to help them re-engage some employees that just basically have disconnected at this point? And it's going to increase your productivity. Whatever it is, how will their company or lives be different as a result of working with you? That's what they buy. They're not buying the actual product or service. And we have to remember, it's like the old adage of, if someone asks you what time it is, you don't tell them how to build the watch, you just tell them what time it is. So that's what we're talking about. What's the end product here? The impact that you make on their lives. And you're going to try and share a mini client success story to validate it. So if you came in referred by someone, then basically you could say, well, Tom, his company was so pleased, I just wanted to reach out to see if we could do the same thing. You could finesse it a little bit more in terms of talking about that Tom basically saw a 12% increase in his sales. But basically, you're trying to get to having a small meeting with them. So you're going to share a mini client success story, and you're going to keep it short. And at the end, you're going to say your name, Eleanor Ann Sweet with Turbocharged Sales, area code 847-304-4500. So the recipe here is we're going to create a series of voicemails. You're going to start with one, and I would suggest saving these like on a Word document so that you have them and label them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Create a folder that's voicemail scripts, and then you can go in and you can tweak them for whatever customers you're going to be getting in touch with in the future. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you're a manager, you can work with your sales team on this and help them create them. So, and if you have a sales team, you want to have continuity, okay? In terms of if you're going to be sharing what your promise is, you want them all in the same script, all on the same page in terms of what's the company promise and how do we define our company. So your game plan is you're going to plan to leave a series of different voicemails because you never know, like I said, which one's going to resonate. In this economy, I'm saying expect to leave between 3 and 8. And then you're going to do it around every 3 to 5 days, changing the message. And in between, you're going to be sending an email. So here's an example of script 1. Hello, Tom. This is Eleanor Sweet. I'm with Turbocharged Sales, 847-304-4500. I'm an expert in increasing sales and revenue for small businesses. The bottom line is, in this recession, I'm helping clients cut overhead and find new potential customers. For example, ABC Company saw an increase of almost 5% in sales using our system. I'd like to introduce myself and Turbocharged Sales over the phone or via Zoom and learn more about your company and see if I am able to help. Please call me. Again, this is Eleanor Sweet from Turbocharged Sales. My phone is area code 847-304-4500. So I sometimes get speaking a little bit quickly. So I always remind myself just naturally now after all these years, I always make sure that when I say my name that second time, if I rushed it a little bit in the beginning, I always make sure I say it slowly, and most importantly, the phone number. There's nothing worse than picking up a voicemail and the person says the phone number so quickly, you know, I have to play it like 4 or 5 times and then finally you don't get it and then you're like, forget it, I'm not calling the person back. So this is your first one, okay? So going forward, I'm going to take you through another example here in a minute, but you can see that there are things that you can tweak. In other words, we could talk about another company. You could also say down here in the second one, or if you want to do it in the first, but personally I would wait till the second one, that I just want to get 10 minutes of your time. But the area that I like here is the most is I want to learn about your company and see if I'm able to help you. Because you really have to care about them, the person, and their company. It can't always be about you. There's that old adage of what's in it for me. You have to talk to the customer in their language and for them, because the goal is for you to help them. If you can help them, then you will end up in the long run helping your company. But the most important thing is you have to lead with them because they are the most important. So you did voicemail script. You did your voicemail script 1 back here. And let's say this is, let's say this is like on a Wednesday. You call, or let's say you called them on a Tuesday. So if you called them on a Tuesday, what I'm suggesting is you follow up with an email on Wednesday. And you basically could say to them, oh, by the way, Tom, I just left you a voicemail. I can see that you're busy. You weren't in. Just wanted to give you the heads up. I'm going to try and reach out to you tomorrow on Thursday. If you called them on, left a message on a Wednesday or a Thursday, let's talk about Thursday because that's kind of like one of the more popular dates. Let's say you call them on Thursday for a voicemail. Then what I would do is I would send them an email on Tuesday telling them that you had called them on Thursday and that you expect to call them tomorrow on Wednesday. That way you kind of worked around the weekend situation. And here would be your second voicemail. And I've underlined the sections here for you to kind of show you the general areas that I kept that were the same. And so then this is the area you're going to focus on customizing for all the subsequent voicemails. So this is, hello, Tom. This is Eleanor Sweet. I'm with Turbocharge Sales, area code 847-304-4500. I'm an expert in increasing sales and revenue for small businesses. I've been supporting small businesses for 10 years and have worked with over 50 clients nationally. For example, DEF Company in the Chicago market saw an increase in sales of 4.5% after using our system. I'd like to introduce myself and Turbocharge Sales personally and learn more about your company and see if we might be able to help. Please call me. Again, this is Eleanor Sweet for Turbocharge Sales. My phone number is area code 847-304-4500. So then you see how here basically you're substantiating how long you've been in business. If you haven't been in business very long, if it's been less than a year, then I wouldn't necessarily put that number there. Personally, I think I may be off on my number on the clients. It may be more, but I felt I was safe in saying that number. Also, you can see here, if you're calling a company in your local market, then specify the market. If you're calling nationally and you've done business, let's say you reside in Chicago as I do, and you have a company in Boston that you're calling, and you've had another client in Boston, then you can use another example from that geographic area, and then it shows that you have empathy and you understand the local market. And there again, after you've left this message, I would wait 24 hours the next day and I would send an email. So, and the other thing is that might be helpful is, let's say you left this voicemail at 11 o'clock, then let's say on a Tuesday, 11 o'clock in the morning. So on Wednesday, what I would do is I would actually send the email in around 4:15 to see if you can catch their eyeballs as they're coming back from some of their meetings, or they're recapping what happened during the day and setting up their meetings for the next day. Here's email 5 and 6. Hello, Tom. This is Eleanor Sweet. I'm with Turbocharge Sales, area code 847-304-4500. I'm an expert in increasing sales and revenue for small businesses. I've called you a few times wanting to introduce myself and Turbocharge Sales personally. I know that you're busy, and because I haven't heard back from you, I'm assuming this is not a good time for us to have a conversation. I don't want to make a pest of myself, and so I will not be calling again. I will touch base in 6 months or so. If you've been meaning to call back and simply haven't had a chance, I would love to share with you how we've helped other small business owners in the area. Please call me. Again, this is Eleanor Sweet from Turbocharge Sales. My phone is area code 847-304-4500. Now, what I've also done in between, so if I call someone, then I send them an email, then I call them again, and then I send them another email. There's a certain point, like let's say maybe after my third voicemail, I will say in the subject line, I've left 3 voicemail, or waving the flag, I've left 3 voicemails, not trying to drive you crazy, you know, ... And I cannot tell you how many people have called back and said, oh, I am so sorry, you know what, I meant to give you a call, Eleanor, I didn't realize I was so busy. And it kind of like, it's a gentle way to tell them that you have been trying, but it's also a gentle way to tell them you know that they're busy. And so I would encourage you to also try that technique. So if you've done the voicemail, the email, voicemail, email, voicemail, email, okay? And then after I said this would be hypothetically the last voicemail, which could be 5 or 6 in today's economy if you really have the guts, go for 7 or 8. And see here when you say I'm going to touch base with you in 6 months or so, I would even encourage in the email that you say I'll touch base with you in 6 months, and then you could even put a comma afterwards in the email and tell them what month. So if this is October, that would mean I would call them, I think, in April. And so give them the month. And then when you call in April, it'll be like, son of a gun, that person really keeps their word. And number two, that person is terrific in follow-up. Where most sales fall apart and most companies fall apart is in the follow-up. People just get too busy. They mean well and they make commitments, but they don't necessarily keep them. But when you're in sales and you're trying to service an organization with your product and your service, you can never go wrong with having the best customer service and the best follow-up and keeping your commitments. So I've been talking about the email. Let's talk about it again. We need a strong subject line, shorter the better. I will admit sometimes I get a little bit leggy on my subject lines. Try leading with the contact's name. So in this case, it could be Lisa, following up per our luncheon, or following up per the convention. I mean, this would have been a while ago because obviously we aren't doing conventions right now. Or Lisa, following up per your request. Lisa, following up with a great new product idea I want to share with you. Or Lisa, how's it going with your organization? So lead with a question is another great idea. The subject line should be 5 to 6 words, less than 50 characters. Avoid all caps and using the explanation, because what's going to happen in a lot of the email systems, and particularly in companies that I think tend to overfilter because they get so much, it's going to go right into spam. Keep your emails short and to the point. Try to keep it above the fold. So when they first see it, they don't have to scroll down. It's right there, the primary message. And what I also do for people with emails, I would suggest this not in the first email with a client, but in the second, the third, is I'll actually just underline in the email the call to action, the thing that I want them to respond to, or the main reason of why I am reaching out to them. Another technique is also to use bullets. You can have in your email just list like 1, 2, and 3. And the I will go right in and it'll read the 1, 2, and 3 before it'll read anything else. There's just something about numbers and dollar signs and percentages that the human brain is just trained just to go into it right away. Because understand that you're lucky if they're even going to look at that email. Let's say maybe 2 or 3 seconds. So you're trying to get their attention. You also want to email the benefit and the outcome. What's in it for me? So how are you going to help them? Put that right up front. Don't make it down near the bottom of the page. Put it right in the beginning. Just want you to know I've been thinking about you. I had this great success with a client last week, and it reminded me of you, and I thought this is something that would really benefit your organization in terms of increasing your sales. So there you gave them the reason. Increasing sales, how can you go wrong with that? And hopefully they'll call you back. And there again, you must include a call to action, and preferably initially in the initial emails, the 1, 2, and 3, and 4, I would avoid adding attachments, because people they want to do an email and then they're going to send you like a proposal, like you haven't even had a conversation with them. So I'm not going to take the time with all the emails I get during the day to necessarily open up all these attachments. So initially I would dissuade you from using attachments. Save that for the last resort down the road, and or preferably if you really have connected with them and they've requested them. But you don't want to do that really until you meet with them on a Zoom meeting, or you have a full conversation with them for 10 minutes on the phone. Because lots of times people will basically ask you to send something just to put you off. They're kind of like tire kickers, and you're just wasting your time. So you want to hold off to your collateral material and your brochures, hold on to it as long as possible, and do not release them until you can get some type of commitment that they're really interested in talking to you and listening to the benefit that you can offer. All right, I want to lead into lesson 3 on closing. So we've done our voicemail, we've done our emails, and now you actually have a live person on the phone. And remember that you are selling a specialized product, not a commodity. So you really want to make sure that they don't want to try and cut you to the chase and say, well, how much does it cost? How much does it cost? You don't want to discuss pricing. You say pricing to the end. They need to understand the benefit that you offer, the value that you bring, because pricing alone means nothing. So this is really the beginning of the close. And that is, what's the goal? The goal is to get an appointment. And this is, you're going to be calling the people, you're leaving the voicemail. And then you're following up with email. okay? And when you connect, the goal is to set up an appointment. You aren't going to try and sell your product and service right out of the gate. Even if they've worked with you and in the past, that may be the one minor exception, but as a rule, if you've got a new product that you want to sell, I still think you should really do the due diligence and at least have the 10 minutes to explain the product to them so they can truly consider it, as opposed to you just doing a quick, 1 to 2 minute line on the phone. They're like, okay, Tom, here's the deal. And they'll be like, oh, well, I'm not interested. Well, you haven't really had the chance to really give it the full presentation. So the goal is to get a 10-minute meeting. 10 minutes on the phone will probably work very well in this economy. You could do, like I said, a 10-minute Zoom meeting if that's better, because it's actually nice if you can see people. It makes you more real. You can watch some of the body language. And like I said, you're not going to send the sales materials in advance because it is a stall tactic. And before you get off the phone, when they've agreed to give you 10 minutes, because you can say, geez, Tom, or Mary, I wasn't expecting, I'm connecting with you right now. This is so great. I've been trying. I know you're busy, but can we just set up another time when I can call back and we can talk for 10 minutes? 10 to 20 minutes is what you want to ask for. And in today's economy, I'm suggesting 10 because I think people are feeling slightly stressed and they're all trying to manage and keep their businesses going in this economy. So 10 minutes is going to be less of an invasive. What you would do also is when you have the meeting is you would have your stopwatch or your watch that you're watching. And basically when you come to the 10-minute, you just say, Mary, I said we were only going to take 10 minutes of your time. We're really at the 10-minute mark. I'm not sure that I've been able to finish this conversation with you in terms of sharing these benefits. Is there another time that we could be rescheduling another 10 minutes? Or do you think you have an additional time right now? And the odds are that they're just going to want to finish the conversation with you and they'll say, no, Eleanor, I think what you're saying is interesting. I'm not sure if I'm buying, but no, please finish explaining to me how this product's going to benefit us and help us. So when you're on that voicemail that you finally connected with them and they've given you the 10-minute appointment confirmation, basically you want to say, I will see you. You want to reconfirm verbally the appointment. It kind of like sets it into their brain. So you'll say, okay, then I will call you Wednesday at 3 o'clock on the 21st next week. And then you just might say, for my records, we're kind of also checking and updating our records here. Are your offices still located at 123 Schaumburg Lane? Now, a lot of companies have consolidated, and temporarily a lot of companies actually have divested themselves of their office space. So I just think it's good, as long as you've got them on the phone for that for that brief time, just to find out if their offices have moved. So number one, if you're actually going to eventually meet with, someone with social distancing going on at their office, you need to know if it's moved or if it's changed. So see if you can get that information. It'll be good for your files. And then you can decide, and you're basically reiterating, this is very important to give them this clause. You can decide for yourself if this is what you're looking for. People have a fear of wanting to listen to someone. They feel like they're going to be hustled. Salespeople have a very bad reputation. And right now in this economy, people are feeling a bit awkward in terms of their finances. They may not want to admit that their companies are a little bit tender right now financially. They've lost some sales. And so they don't want to be put in that position. So if you can tell someone, no, I'm just asking you to listen to me, okay? You make the decision. When you say you can decide for yourself if this is what you're looking for, then you put them back in the position of ownership and control of their life. They don't feel like that you're just coming in and ramming yourself down on them and trying to force them to consider something they're not comfortable with. You want them to know that you respect them, that this is their decision. But your obligation is to make sure that they have enough information to make an intelligent decision. If you truly believe that you know that your service can make a difference to your product and you've got a track record, you've seen it, then you need to come from that heart space to keep that in mind and keep it as a bearing on your goal and how you're going to approach the conversation and to drive you forward and not worrying about being rejected, but to remember that you want them to feel that they can make their own decision, but you also want to be able to give them enough information that they can make that decision. And then you can close by saying, I look forward to reconnecting on the 21st and have a great day. So there again, it's just very subtle. You left them a reminder of the day and the time. And they didn't object. They didn't say, oh no, well, I guess I said that, but no, I can't do that. So because you want to find that out. Okay. I would also follow up with an email the same day and just say, thank you, Mary, for the time that you gave me. Looking forward to connecting with you on Wednesday, the 21st at 3 o'clock. Have a great day. And keep the email just real short. You don't want to put in an extra information like you're trying to reiterate your benefit or your value. The most important thing right now is to focus on getting that commitment and then having them keep the commitment so that you can have that time to share with them some additional information. So here's another one. Okay, this is called the approach close. So it's another way that you're basically trying to catch up with them, but you're trying to also have them understand that you care about, you know, what's important to them. So it's Mr. Prospect. Thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are. Please relax. I'm not here to sell you anything. All I'm going to do is to show you some of the reasons other people have bought this product and service and continue to buy it over the years. And all I ask of you is to look at all the reasons that others have bought it and judge for yourself. You can tell me one way or another where these reasons apply to you and your situation. Is that fair? So this is where you have your 10 minutes. You want the prospect to feel comfortable. You don't want him to feel you're coming right out of the gate for that 10 minutes and you're totally going to be pushing yourself at him. You're giving him the respect to say, no, I just want to be able to share some of my information with you and you're the one that's going to make the decision. Is that fair? This continues on to a second section where I go into, well, Mr. Prospect, this is at the end of after you've done your 10-minute presentation. Well, Mr. Prospect, what would you like to do at this time? And Tom would say, I have to think it over. And you say, you promised me you would give me an answer one way or the other. Now, for some people, you're going to say, oh my goodness, that's a little bit pushy. I'm not comfortable with that, Eleanor. Well, the reason it's good is you're trying to get people to cut to the chase and stop being tire kickers. And so you're saving time. So you're making them, in a very subtle way, you're making them accountable. And you're saying, well, Mary, you promised me you'd give me an answer one way or the other. From what you say, it seems that this product is just the ideal for your situation. Why don't you give it a try? So then they're going to give you feedback in terms of why it's not a good product. And that's going to help you. They're going to say, well, you know, I guess earlier when we were talking, I thought it sounded kind of good, but the more I think about it, I just don't think it's right. And so then you can kind of get into some probing questions to find out, okay, what was it that didn't appeal to you? And because they're allowed to, to have that opinion, but you need to uncover the objections that they have to your product or your service. It may be the packaging. It may be the timing. And at a certain point, if you've gotten down to the pricing, it could be the pricing. But you need to uncover that. So these are subtle ways to do that. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the slide. Again, just going completely through it from start to finish. So we can just hear it in its entirety. I couldn't get it on one page. All right. Mary, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are. Just want to let you know, you can relax. I'm not here to sell you anything. All I'm going to do is show you some of the reasons other people have bought this system of ours and continue to buy it over the years. And then I want to ask you is to look at all the reasons that the other people have bought it and judge for yourself. You can tell me one way or another where these reasons apply to you and your situation and give me the feedback. Is that fair? Well, Lisa, what would you like to do at this time? Lisa says, I have to think it over. You promised me you'd give me an answer one way or another. So you promised me you'd give me some type of answer one way or the other. From what you say, it seems that this product sounds like it's very good for your organization. Why don't you give it a try? Now, if you have a product, there's a thing called the puppy dog close, which I kind of like the name. And that is, if you have a product that you can actually lend someone and say, well, you know what? Why don't I just bring you the copy machine and we'll leave it here. You try it for 30 days. If you don't like it, we'll take it back. And invariably, they will keep the product. I even saw, I think the other day on TV, that one of the automotive companies was actually saying you can try our car for 30 days and then return it. So if they're a little hesitant for whatever reason, and you can't uncover that there's a definitive reason, in other words, if it's not pricing, in the case of technology or a product, it could be that they're not familiar with it. A lot of software companies do this, which I think is a great idea, is they will offer a trial. Okay, so you can have a 30-day trial on the software platform, and you can try it. And when you're selling software, a lot of people have a problem because they're just concerned that it's going to be too complex, or they're concerned about the learning curve for their employees. So try and think of a way that you can possibly encourage them to just at least try it. And you have to make that decision contingent upon your product and your profit structure. All right, so I want to share with you a couple of closes here that are relative to if you have a tough economy. So if you have a negative economy, which is what we're dealing with right now, a recession, there's some ways that you kind of have to reconsider, how am I going to try and work with this client and get them comfortable enough that they'll consider my product going forward. Because what happens in a negative economy, a lot of people just literally freak out, they're frightened, and they freeze. This is, ironically enough, is sometimes one of the worst time to freeze. So if you're freezing and your competitor is like pivoting and they're going out there and they are hitting the pavement like there's no tomorrow and banging the phones and making tons of phone calls and doing those extra 7 and 8, and they're getting through to people and you're not, then they, in this particular economy, could be getting a competitive advantage. And in some cases, once the economy turns around, it's going to be hard for you to close that gap with your competitor. I know that to be true. So let's go through this one, which will give you an idea on how to reach out to someone in a negative economy. Miss Prospect, I have to admit that I agree with you when you talk about the poor economy we are currently facing. However, years ago, I learned a very interesting truth. Successful people buy when everyone else is selling and sell when everyone else is buying. All we seem to hear lately is news about the bad economy, but I've decided not to let it bother me. Do you know what? Because many of today's fortunes were built during the tough economic times of the past. The people who built those fortunes focused on the long-term opportunity rather than the short-term opportunity and challenges. You have the same opportunity here today in looking at the long-term benefits of our service. It just makes sense to get started now, doesn't it? Now, if you're talking about a pricing structure, so in the past, if someone's having trouble coming into the market right now in this economy with your price point on your product, maybe there's a way you can work out a payment plan situation that you never had before. During one of the recessions, I kind of went through something like this myself without realizing it, believe it or not, and that is I do a lot of trade advertising. And so I was on this cycle where I would advertise. I was doing a special ad. I think it was when I came out of graduate school. It was about my announcement at Kellogg to my clients and thanking them for their support. And so I called up the ad person and I said, oh, by the way, can you do me a favor and run this ad? Well, they put it on my normal cycle. I didn't know that that was the case. And so the ad ran for, I think, 4 to 6 weeks on a weekly basis. Well, during that economy, to be honest, at that time, I'm not sure I wanted to spend that money. But what happened, ironically enough, is that all my competitors had pulled out of the trade journals. They were not advertising. I was the only one advertising. It was happening on a continuous basis because that's really the way you have to do advertising. You can't just do an ad once a month and think people are going to see it. You have to be consistent about it. But I can't tell you the people that were calling my phone saying, oh, congratulations, I didn't know that, and can we talk to you about something we were thinking about for our organization? So if you can in any way be creative and encourage people that in this time when they intuitively want to pull back, that this really strategically and competitively can be one of the strongest times for them to move forward and to make progress in the marketplace, because most people are basically going to be sitting on their thumbs and their hands waiting for this to kind of pass through and get better. Here's another one for you that you can use. So also remember that before I go on, that in a negative economy, you have to do whatever you can to help them rationalize their decision. They emotionally want to do it, but when there's a recession and a very stringent time economically, They overanalyze because they're very, to their credit, they're very frugal about where all the pennies and nickels and dimes and dollars are going, because they know in this economy it's a little bit softer. So you have to help them rationalize the decision in their gut that they know they need to do. And you need to take a little more time working with them. And just, walk with, be with them, listen, find out what's important to them, and literally hold their hand. Here's another one, okay, that would also be relative to the economy. And what you want to do here is, this close is for the people that go, well, what if? Okay, this gets them focusing on their need. Okay, when they agree that the choice is positive, then you can ask for their business. So let's do this one for you. Based on our current economic news, nearly everything is either too bad for us or too good to be true. If we take all the information presented to us each day to heart, we'll never buy anything. Our economy would grind to a halt and we'd all suffer greatly. You're in a position to make a positive choice for your family or company, don't you agree? So you're trying to encourage them that things can get better and things will be better, and kind of like help pull themselves out of themselves. So remember how we talked on one of our previous sessions about optimism. And there are just some people that are naturally optimistic. And you may be dealing with some people that aren't naturally optimistic. And when you get a bad recession like this, it's hard to be optimistic and it's hard to have hope. But you want to come from the space in your heart that if you truly believe that your product can help them and help them now, then you want to really genuinely reach out to them to help communicate to them that, you know what, Ben, this is for you. I understand it's not something you're thinking about right now and you really don't want to make the investment, but this is how it can help you. This is how it can help your family, and this is how it can help your business, and guide them through that and talk their language and talk to them about their business. You have to become the expert in their business for them at times. It can't be about you. It can't be about your product or service and trying to ram it down somebody's throat. You have to find a way that it generally will benefit. It will generally transform, create a positive outcome for them, help them sleep at night, and all those other things that we've talked about. But here at the end, you see how you are. You say, you're in a position to make a positive choice for your company. Don't you agree? And if they say, yes, you're right, if I make this decision, it could possibly help my company, then you're getting them a little bit over the hurdle. And then you need to walk through them and analyze and talk with them about the components, just the big picture, not down into the weeds. About, yes, if we get your team of 5 people together and I do a DISC assessment, and I can find out that one person that's creating some problems for you as far as getting the team to really move forward on that new project, think what will happen. You'll get that new project and you can go out and you'll be creating more sales for your company. So this is going to come from your conversation with them and your research with them. So I want to leave with you, because I know that these can be trying times, and what I'm sharing with you, my strong belief in using the voicemail, using the email, reaching out and talking to these people about how you can engage them emotionally, but also help them understand how they can rationalize a decision that will truly help them going forward their businesses in a time that innately they want to be a little bit conservative on holding on to those financial dollars for their business. That you have to show and justify that you can give them a strong ROI. But here are some great 6 confidence building strategies. As some of you know, I've been an author and I've written 4 or 5 books. And this was, I was very blessed because Les Hewitt, and Mark Victor Hansen endorsed my book, and they gave me, and Jack Canfield gave me permission to share this with you today. So the 6 confidence building strategies, you can print this off, put it up next to your computer, and remind yourself of this every day. Every day, remind yourself that you did something well. It's like we talked about earlier in another session, the gratitude theory. When you get up in the morning, even before you get out of bed, you put your feet on the floor, talk about what you're grateful about today. At night, say what you're grateful for, and remind yourself, maybe you didn't make as much progress as you wanted, but give yourself credit and own the progress that you did make. Read inspiring biographies and autobiographies. It'll remind you of the hurdles and the frustrations and the things that other people had to overcome to get going forward in their life and being successful. Number 3, be thankful. Be thankful for those around you. Be thankful for nature. Be thankful for the fact that you're in good health. Number 4, build excellent support around you. In times like this, I would encourage you. I have a couple of groups that I'm involved with. We've recently started meeting outside with great social distancing, but you can also meet with friends on Zoom or Google Hangouts on a weekly basis just to touch base, find out with other small business owners how are their businesses going. You can attend your chambers or like doing a lot of virtual coffee hour, I think, or lunchtime learning where they're sharing their war stories. But reach out and make sure you're not isolated. Push yourself to accomplish small-term goals on a daily basis. Decide, what 3 people are you going to call? What 5 people are you going to call? How many people you're going to email? Just set up a couple of small, 3 goals. How many phone calls, how many emails, and how many follow-up? And number 6, do something for yourself every week. Something that I recently did. I really wasn't into it that much, to be honest, but my daughter was, and then my son got me into it. And so I've been doing candles. So I actually have, not now, but I have a candle sometimes going in my office, and it's kind of like it gives you the scent of the candle, and it's just something to kind of be a little bit inspiring. It's something different. I also have a sound machine, so I love the ocean, and I could put the ocean music in the background. If you're doing any writing for your business, they've done studies, by the way, you want to have classical music playing in the background. So those are some mini ideas for you. So I'm wishing you a really great week to take some of these things into account. We're going to download the materials from the membership site for Modular 2 on the Strong Sales Tools, which includes the 3 lessons we've talked about. There'll be a video recording. I'm going to turn the presentation into a PDF. There'll be some extra modular handouts for you that will also be on the membership website. So again, remember to reevaluate your current and your future business model. Block your calendar for Modular 3 to look on customer retention. Apply this information to your business this week, and reach out to me via email, sweet@turbochargesales.com, with any questions from Modular 1 or Modular 2. And I really want to wish you all to have a great week. Remember to stay on task. Remember to keep your goals. Remember not to be too hard on yourself, but to keep trying. And if you have that passion and knowing that you have something of value to offer to your customers, find those customers, reconnect with the ones that maybe you currently aren't doing business with, and then also ask them for referrals, find some new customers, and look into some new areas where you can genuinely expand your business. Have a great week. It's an honor to help you on your journey. Thank you. Take care. Eleanor Sweet. Bye-bye.